Welcome to episode 79 of the Curios Cast. This is the history of the Curios Cast. Welcome to episode 79. Due to some scheduling issues and the three of us just being a bunch of idiots, we haven't been able to record an episode this week, but we didn't want to leave you empty-handed, or empty-eared, I guess. We know quite a few of you have been here since episode 1, so this will be a little bit of like a trip down memory lane, and some of you who have joined us more recently, this is sort of like the lore of the Curios Cast, the backstory. Think of this as like in episode 7 or 8 of Friends or any other sitcom where they look back at all the history. Do you remember the time when, and you done this crazy thing? This is kind of what we're doing this week. So yeah, think of this as a Curios Cast best bits, but then also the history of the Curios Cast. So of course, we're going to start with episode 1. We had a different song back then and a different host. Rob and George started the podcast with a friend of ours, Paul, who you may have heard us refer to as Lawford.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Curios Cast, where we discuss weird and wonderful news stories from around the world and the internet. My name is George, and joining me are Rob and Paul.
Hello.
The format of this podcast is that each of us go into it blind. So we all bring a selection of news stories, internet histories or oddities in general each week that the other two are not aware of before. Bring them to the fore and have a little chat and discuss them. We best introduce ourselves. Disclaimer, I love a good spooky story, conspiracy theory, ghost sighting or mystery. However far-fetched or blatantly obvious it is. So this is like my ideal. I love it, basically.
I love it.
But Rob, how about you?
Yeah, my name's Rob. I am a musician. I play in bands and things, and I spend a lot of time on the internet. So that's probably my qualifications. I'm just trying to think of what I like in regards to news stories that are funny. Probably, I like shocking things that are like instant shock value. Generally, the title clickbaits you into like a really rubbish article, but
So like a Daily Mail online. You love a good Daily Mail online.
Daily Mail are stupid, aren't they?
But they've got some good clickbait.
But they've got some great,
good clickbait,
absolute top clickbait. But,
do you like top 10? The top 10 most unbelievable
things of something. Yeah, no, I do like that.
So without further ado, this is the pilot episode of the Curios Cast. Before we go into the news stories that each of us have brought, we're going to discuss this week's cake and this week's coffee. Unfortunately, Paul has already eaten or drunk his coffee because
Rob's eating a bit of his cake.
Rob's eaten a bit of his cake. So this week the cake is panettone, which is a.
I hadn't heard of it, to be fair, before you mentioned it, and you sent it to me earlier on, and I had to go and Google it and find out exactly what it was. But it did say it's with raisins, and I asked you about it when I came in.
You can get it with dried fruit, but this is without sans dried fruit.
Did you make it?
No, this is from Lidl.
Oh, right.
We're not allowed to. Maybe Lidl can.
There are no
sponsor our
You
podcast.
say there are other
there
confectionery places to buy cake.
Also
available.
Aldi as well.
Yeah.
You gonna go name them all, or
No, that's it. I'm just going to go for those two brands. So panettone is an Italian Christmas cake.
All right.
Quite festive.
It's like a
Post-Christmas
weird cake, and we've got some sugar to drizzle onto it.
Zucchero di decorazione.
I must admit, from my bite, it
Admit
it was really sugary anyway. It was because I got there's like a sugary
There's
crust.
sugary on the top, yeah.
Hang on, I'm spreading some of my sugar on top of this now. Is that a reasonable amount?
So that's reasonable.
Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit on this bit as well.
This
Nice,
week's
tastes
coffee, this week's cake, panettone.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's nice and moist. Nice and tasty.
Yeah.
You have to say moist.
But it's moist on our list of words we can't say.
No. Moist is fine.
Yeah, that's good.
Cracking. You know what I've just realised? The downside to this.
People can hear us eating.
People can hear us
Yeah,
eating.
it's disgusting.
And this is quite big.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's going to take quite a while to...
we probably don't finish the whole cake. I reckon we'll
take a
save
bite.
it. Yeah.
Let's save it at the end.
Okay, so there we go. And that is the panettone over and done with. That is this week's cake segment, which we've all come up with a name for.
So the idea for that coffee and cake segment was that we would all bring coffee and cake to every episode, a different one, and we would drink it and eat it into the microphone and tell you how it tasted. I think for pretty obvious reasons, we got rid of that pretty quickly, and I definitely think we can all agree that that was a good thing. We don't want to bring that section back. But as you heard George explain, the premise of the Curios Cast hasn't really changed a whole lot in terms of bringing a weird topic in without the others knowing what it is beforehand and then all discussing that. Some of the stories that were brought up in the very early days of the Curios Cast still get brought up now, and we still reference some of the very first topics. Even the topics in episode 1 we still bring up every now and then and sort of call back to them and make a little joke. So let's listen back to some of the very first topics. These are the topics that were brought on episode 1 of the Curios Cast.
Cool.
So
who's first with their news article this week then?
well,
I'm going to go in the middle.
Okay.
so I'll go at the end.
All right.
Mine's pretty tepid really, so I'm gonna start it off on a nice foot. Let's have a look and see.
Come on.
Whoa.
First did that
Right,
with Marks
let's
to George.
just start that fresh. We can edit that and seem really cool.
No,
so my
it
phone
is.
just went
No,
off.
it
No, it's that.
So
Well,
take it
That
away.
just reminded me, I am going to mute mine. Go on, Paul.
Well, you're not on the microphone now.
Off mic.
right, let me send you over my article of so you guys can kind of read it / follow me along. And my story this week is 64-metre fatberg discovered in English seaside resort. So 8 weeks are needed to remove mass of fat, oil and wet wipes from the sewer in Sidmouth in Devon.
That's grim. So it's not. This is in English seaside resort. It makes it sound like it's on the beach. It's in the sewer then. Isn't it?
In Devon, yeah. So like it's not like in the Midlands. It's not like
It instantly makes you think no, on the beach.
Yeah.
But,
But it is an actual iceberg. It's
the reason I picked this article, number one, it's like from this week, and I know we said we can choose it from any time, the article, but about 6 months ago, when I was changing my daughter's nappy, I used a wet wipe to clean the area that required cleaning, and I went to go and throw the wet wipe down the toilet, and Emma, my wife, said, "Don't feed the fatberg." I didn't have a clue what don't
So
feed.
she already knew about this.
So no, she in London there was one a little while ago that took like weeks to try and remove, and apparently if you feed the fatberg, it means you're flushing more stuff down the toilet to add to this massive clump of human shit that is down at the bottom. So if I read a little bit more into the article, a block of hardened fat oil and wet wipes longer than 6 double-decker buses has been found in the sewers from the popular seaside resort in Devon. It will take workers 8 weeks to cut up and remove the 64-metre fatberg from the sewer beneath the Esplanade in Sidmouth. So I'm guessing Esplanade would imply that it is pretty close to the
Beach,
to the beach, to the coast, yeah. South West Water is also planning to open a pop-up shop in the town to inform people about the unwanted visitor and to urge them not to feed fatbergs by pouring fat oil and grease and wet wipes into the systems. The company's director said it shows how key environmental issue is not just facing UK cities, but right here on our coastal towns. So, yeah, I didn't know about the fatberg until about 6 months ago when...
Well, there's an advert about it on the radio where they basically say about don't flush this, don't flush that because I'm down here. And it creates blockages.
What, so it's from the point of view of the fatberg?
Of the no, it's not. That'd be good though. I'm here. Feed me. That'd be a better advert. No, it's from the point of view of a sewer worker.
Right, okay. I
must admit though, I've poured fat down the drain.
Yes, 100%.
Like when you're cooking and that.
I'm rubbish at cooking, but if I was going to get rid of stuff after cooking, I'd 100% put it down.
My dad always has a jar that he collects, and I thought it was just so your own sink doesn't get blocked. I didn't really think about it as...
What, a jar of fat?
Yeah.
What does he do with that at the end of it?
Puts it in the fridge and lets Joey from Friends drink it.
Other TV shows
No, eventually you throw it in the bin. I think it's the idea. But I tried to do it once when I was at uni. I thought, alright, that's the thing my dad does. And I poured burning hot fat into a plastic bottle, obviously just instantly melted it. So, top tip, use a glass jar.
What you brought to the table today, quite literally?
Yes, so I'm going to open this up.
Can you share it, or you said it's a Facebook group, a closed Facebook group?
It's a closed Facebook group, so I can't share it to you guys, so I'm going to have to read out from it, right?
Okay.
But, so someone I know, their son, who I also know, but I know her more, her son added me to this group, and I'm really not sure why he added me to this group. Like, now look, I try and go into this with a reasonably open mind, but I'm not going to, because it's, in my opinion, it's batshit crazy, right? The group is called Urine Therapy the real universal remedy.
Urine therapy and the real universal therapy.
Urine therapy, the real universal remedy.
All right.
Basically, it's a group of people that drink their piss.
Do you know what? I've seen a documentary about this.
Yeah, they keep talking about it in here. Yeah.
I've seen it.
You actually
before.
watched it, haven't you?
It must have been about 2 or 3 years ago, so I don't remember loads about it. But I remember them, like, I think someone had been doing it for like years and years and years. And
there's all these people in it, and they love it. Like, proper love it.
It's meant to be like they say it's like the most detoxifying thing you could ever imagine.
They reckon it fixes anything, right? There's a pinned post somewhere from like...
Don't tell me someone's cured cancer or AIDS or something.
Of course they cured cancer. It fixes everything. Where's the... Right, here we go, right. Here's the original post, right, from the person, right. So the original thing that like sort of leads the group when it started, I guess. Extract from The Water of Life. A treatise on urine therapy. What's a treatise?
Like a collection of
okay,
information.
alright, so it's not on this type, yeah.
I've not heard it.
By John W. Armstrong, Chapter 6, Growths and Cancer. I won't read it all because it goes on for ages, right? But there's a whole massive... Look how much it scrolls.
Robbie's scrolling with his finger.
It scrolls for ages,
Scrolled
right?
for 20 seconds.
I have read it all, right? But I won't read it all out now. It's
Give some highlights from the article.
Right. Here's another case, 1925. Middle-aged woman. Growth of some proportion situated near the armpit. 2 surgeons advised operation but made a concession to her daughter's suggestion that the patient might rest and take very light nourishment before facing the ordeal. The operation was accordingly arranged to take place in the hospital a week hence. However, as the patient's daughter had derived much benefit herself from urine fasting, she prevailed on her mother to try the treatment in the interim. In 5 days, not a trace of the gross
Nah,
was
not
left.
interested. Absolutely not interested.
That
is outrageous.
I may add that 2 days after the patient should have presented herself at the hospital for the operation, the family doctor called in. He was indignant at having his advice and arrangements flouted in this independent manner. But when having thoroughly examined the patient, he found her condition entirely normal. There was nothing more to be said.
Didn't happen, did it?
Subsequently, he called on all his colleagues who, to express it mildly, were extremely astonished and, being human, were not altogether pleased. I merely add this part of the story to show that the patient had been properly examined after her recovery. She is at the time of writing many years older and quite well.
I'm guessing there are no photos.
Not in this particular article, right? But this one is classic. This just says it all to me, right? What are the differences in effect between drinking the urine or making a homeopathic tincture of some drops and distilled water and consume it daily? How do you make a homeopathic tincture? I'm thinking of doing an aged urine tincture for when I travel in a tincture bottle. I wonder if it will go bad if I keep my urine in a tincture bottle, or if it is better to do a homeopathic tincture. It's like, what way to make drinking your piss even better, more effective? Let's add some homeopathy. That other really effective.
But why has he said tincture 406 times then? Is he the most smarmy urine man of all time?
This is a woman, actually.
Well, I'm going to read the headline.
Okay.
All right, and you can choose what story you want to hear more of.
I'm into it.
Cool. So the first headline is 15 pounds of frozen Italian sausage crashes on Florida family's roof.
All right.
That's the headline, isn't it?
That's what I thought. Keep going.
Man busted licking doorbell for 3 hours.
I was going to bring this one.
Yeah.
We have
maybe
to.
we'll do that one as a little
bonus.
additional bonus.
Yeah,
It's not a very long one, that one.
That was funny though.
Montana man shoots at guy he thinks is Bigfoot. Last one. This one's a bit more lighthearted. Hawaiian monk seal gets eel stuck up its nose. And there is a photo.
Also saw that one as well. The photos are outrageous.
I don't think there's going to be much more to the story about that one. I think I kind of like the guy shooting at someone he thinks is Bigfoot.
So just to add to 2 of them, well, one of them, the Bigfoot, I just want to read you the tagline underneath, right? The alleged shooter supposedly told his victim, "If I see something that looks like Bigfoot, I just shoot it."
So he's talking from experience then, yeah?
Yeah. Which is unbelievable. So I'm assuming you want to read it.
Let's go with Bigfoot.
No.
What a thing to say.
Unbelievable.
I see something that I think is Bigfoot, I'm going to shoot it.
So this one was this is from the end of last year, so it's from December.
He's American.
He's American in Montana. So,
Oh, did you already say that? Sorry.
a Montana man who thought he was shooting at Bigfoot on Sunday ended up making a big mistake.
Is there a pun on the big? It's called Bigfoot or?
Maybe there is. I'm not too sure. The supposed Sasquatch was actually a fellow human setting up targets to shoot in a forest area near Helena. I'm assuming Helena's somewhere in Montana.
I'm guessing the bullet did actually hit him then, though.
No, so it says here, the 27-year-old victim narrowly avoided death when one bullet hit 3 feet to his left. Police said the victim tried to avoid more gunfire by running into the trees.
Making himself look more like Bigfoot.
Exactly. Before he was able to confront his shooter, who then told him, "I thought you were Bigfoot." Which seems like a reasonable reason to shoot at someone, right? The victim added that the suspect then told him, "I don't target practice, but if I see something that looks like Bigfoot, I just shoot at it." The alleged shooter then reportedly told his victim to wear orange if he didn't want to be confused with Bigfoot.
What was he wearing then?
It doesn't say what he was wearing.
No one's ever factually said Bigfoot. He might wear orange, you know.
What was he
Unfortunately.
does it say what he was doing?
So he was setting up targets.
There's lots of questions. Yeah, what was the other guy doing?
So, a giant fatberg, urine therapy, and a Bigfoot hunter shooting a man in America thinking he was Bigfoot. Some very curious topics that you might have heard us reference to recently. They're very similar to the topics we still bring today, so you can see the Curios Cast hasn't strayed from its roots. So we'll move on from episode 1. If any of these topics or episodes that I talk about pique your interest, then feel free to go back and listen to them. You will have to excuse the audio for the first 5 episodes or so. The audio does get much better once we started recording in the Curios studio after about 5 or 6 episodes. The podcast wasn't known for its consistency back then, with only 5 episodes being recorded in the space of 16 months. And after a long 8 months without a single episode, the Curios Cast was reborn.
Hello everyone and welcome to Curios Cast, episode 1 of season 2.
Whoa.
Season 2. Season 1 was an overwhelming success. As everyone knows, our schedule was kept impeccably. We only grew in calibre towards the end of the season, which was really good. The last episode came out at the end of last year, 19th of December 2019. But don't worry about that.
And what is it now?
August.
The
something.
Tuesday, the 11th of August 2020. That's right, it's still 2020, everyone's favourite year. I'm George James, one host of the Curios Cast. Also joining me is Rob Oliver.
Hello.
And this year, or this season I should say.
And also this year.
This year,
yeah.
We are joined by Tom McLeod, who is replacing the sadly departed Paul Alford, who
Sounds like he's dead.
who's had a career-ending injury, and we've had to loan him out. So, Tom McLeod, welcome to the Curios Cast full-time.
Brilliant, thanks for having me. I've been on here twice as a guest, and I'm glad to be a solidified member of the team.
Solidified, I like it.
Yeah.
I think you were a fan favourite. So,
Oh yeah, of course.
why don't we let our latest and freshest guest, or host I should say now, Tom McLeod, take the reins. Take it away, Tom.
Yeah, go on. I'll go first. So I have a couple here. We'll just jump straight into it. The first story I have, the headline was the thing that grabbed me really. Massive semen explosion after blaze hits Ball artificial insemination facility. Firefighters are forced to dodge projectiles. So, a huge fire at a cattle breeding facility in Australia has caused thousands of dollars in damage after at least 100 cylinders containing bull semen were destroyed. Emergency services were called to the blaze in the early hours at Yaram Herd Services in Gippsland, Victoria. It took 10 fire crews more than 2 hours to fully extinguish the fire after it broke out at 3 a.m. local time. The liquid inside the cylinders was rapidly expanding, and essentially the lids of the cryogenic cylinders were just popping off the top, and projectiles were being thrown from the building. So,
That's grim.
sort of in summary, there were 100, I think it said, 100 silos of frozen bull sperm. And then a fire broke out, and that just caused them all, I guess, to boil and expand to the point where the top of the cylinders just popped off and spunk was just being thrown everywhere across Gippsland, Victoria, Australia.
That is
Excellent.
awful.
Isn't bull semen supposed to be like...
Super expensive.
So that was the first episode with myself as a host. Feel free to go back and listen to that. That was episode 10, and it is a classic episode with some weird news topics. The very next episode, we made another significant change to the podcast.
So this will be the first Curios Cast episode on schedule.
Woo!
Yes.
New schedule manager.
production quality is going through the roof.
That's it. We've gone videos. Welcome to the video. Welcome YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot
some
of people are probably
housekeeping.
watching this. Not watching
Yeah,
this
I wouldn't
actually,
say a lot
listening
of
to this
people.
on a podcasting app. So if you want to see us in video format, follow our Instagram, Curios Cast, and you'll have some highlights of the episodes on there. And then also we'll have a YouTube channel as well. I'm sure you can search Curios Cast and you'll find it.
Yep. The exact channel name will link in Instagram, etc. Once.
Yeah.
I'll also
Up
put it
on
in
socials.
the description of the podcast
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Once we've got that figured out. But yeah, so big news. We're now not only an audible podcast, we're a video format podcast as well.
Oh my
Has that
god.
got a different name? Is that a video cast, or is it still just a podcast?
Vodcast.
What does pod mean though? What is the pod?
It's actually from like iPod,
Ah,
because
okay.
it was made for that sort of thing, I believe.
I mean, you could watch this on an iPod.
One of the fun aspects of recording in the Curios studio was that there was no internet. So quite often we would disagree, or we would talk about a topic that we have no idea. We're all just idiots and we don't know what we're talking about, and we couldn't fact check ourselves. So what we would do is we would go off and Google those topics throughout the week, come back the next week or month, and we had a little segment called Was We Chatting Shit Last Episode? As always, a fact check from last episode. The one thing that we did mention last episode, it was when we was talking about Frosties, and I think Robbie started singing, "They're gonna taste great,
Yeah.
they're gonna taste great," and then we started speaking about the kid from the Frosties advert,
Yeah.
and we said, "Didn't that kid kill himself?" Because that was the rumor
Yeah.
that I think most people, probably like our age or older, who saw that TV advert in probably like I don't even know when it came out, like early
Like the
2000s.
2000s, I guess. Right?
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't seen it, it's just a stupid advert, just a Frosties advert, and this kid's just singing a song about Frosties.
Yeah.
And the rumor was that kid got bullied so badly at school that he killed himself. And one of the ways that he was rumored to have killed himself was by sticking pencils up his nose and slamming his face on a desk at school.
That's a classic school rumour as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that you can die that
Yeah.
way.
Everyone knows
And
it's
then
the
there-
most efficient way of doing it.
And then there was also rumors that that kid had cancer, and he got the role in the advert because he loved Frosties so much that he wanted to be in
That's
an
a great
advert.
rumour.
And
It's his last wish.
so we said, like, we'll check for next episode and just find out whether he's dead or not.
Yeah.
Any guesses whether he's dead or
He's
not?
not.
No, he's
I'm
not.
saying no.
Oh, I feel like I've looked it up and he kind of is. That'd be kind of
Kinda is dead.
Kind of. Well, I mean,
He's 50%
Yeah.
dead.
He's
He's
brain
brain-
dead.
He's dead inside.
I'm going to say no.
No, he's alive and kicking.
He's alive
I
and
reckon.
kicking.
Cool.
it's a general consensus. I'm going to go with yes.
or
He's dead.
are you going
just
to tell me that he never existed?
Whoa, deep.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. He is not dead,
Yay.
and he's actually doing pretty well. His name is Sven Rygok.
Ooh.
He's actually Rygrok. Actually, I'll correct myself. Sven Rygrok, and he is from South Africa. He now is an actor, and essentially, when he was like 14 or so, he auditioned for that advert and
You got it.
got it. Yeah,
It tastes great.
yeah.
It tastes great.
So that's what I found out. I kind of wanted.
Has he been in anything else that we'd know?
So I had a few questions that I was trying to Google and try and find out. Like, I wanted to know how, like, was he actually bullied? Like,
Yeah.
for one thing, and like he just didn't kill himself, but he was quite badly bullied. I wanted to know like, what it was like just being this kid that everybody knew, and it was like a big meme, like back in the day, and sort of how that's affected him and stuff like that. So I reached out to him.
Yeah.
And I got a response. And Sven Rygrok was very happy to sit down and have a chat with me.
Unbelievable.
Stop it,
Legend.
Tom.
No way.
So here,
This is the first successful.
there we go. First
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
reach out.
There's
Yeah.
been a lot of foul ones.
No, actually,
George-
I again reached out to that sneeze man
That's true.
who,
Oh, yeah.
who was
Oh,
counting
yeah.
his
Solid,
sneeze.
George, you need to
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
gonna-
compelling listening.
Fuck
the
him.
sneeze.
I'm going to speak to Donald Trump for this episode.
Oh,
So,
Actually, I'm not.
yeah, this is where we're going to cut away. Here is my interview with Sven Rygrok. Hey, Sven.
How's it, Tom?
Hey, how you doing? You okay?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am very good. Thanks for joining.
Pleasure. Magical, man. Thanks for reaching out.
I'm glad to find out you're not dead. That was good news.
Yay. Yeah.
Especially in the way that they
said that you died was
Yeah.
quite an awful one, that you slammed your head into the desk with pencils up your nose.
Yeah. Oh, there were some good ones, man.
Yeah,
But that was probably one of my best.
that was the most creative. How was that for you as a child? I imagine, from what I read, the bullying side of things was not as extreme as it was made out to be, but it was more just
Sure.
the rumours and misinformation out there.
For sure. I mean, off the bat, I must say that I'm incredibly grateful for what it was. The reason being is that part of my, I wouldn't use the word career, but part of something that I'm passionate about is motivational talks for kids, particularly on the subject of bullying and cyberbullying specifically, particularly within the realm in which we find ourselves now currently, and the online space. So that was a complete experience that I had. That was a wonderful draw card, which I share with people now on stage and talk to young kids and mentor through. In terms of, again, was I hugely affected by it? Not really. If I'm completely honest, not really. The thing that still remains very vivid as a picture in my mind was the agony of my parents. So I would never wish this on anyone, even my worst enemy, because, I mean, people who are parents will know that this is, I mean, it's not fun to hear things of, being said about your child, which you have no control over. And I mean, once those rumors started snowballing, they snowballed and they avalanched quite quickly. And I think that was the first sign of like, wow, this is far beyond your control. And I think that was quite, scary.
Yeah, I can imagine. For yourself, of course, you was very young. You was a teenager, so you might have been more interested in other things. But it is one of those things that could have really affected you if you were susceptible to it. And I can imagine, like you said, hearing those things happen about your child and having it's not like, again, because it was over a decade ago, it wasn't as easy to sort of like pat down those fires. You couldn't go out there and make online. You couldn't just tweet and say, "Hey, rumors are not true. I'm not dead," and then they're gone. Like it was just spreading like wildfire through all the playgrounds in the UK.
For sure. And I think that was something that was a great grace as well, was the fact that I wasn't there in the UK. I think it would have been a very different story if I was on those playgrounds, and seeing pictures of myself or seeing like the videos that I still to this day, I love them. Some of my best ones, like getting smashed by a train, like people were really creative.
Yeah. So that was a few clips from our interview with Sven, the Frosties kid. It was our first interview and it was quite a big one. This gave us the idea to explore our topics in a bit more detail from time to time and try to do a little bit of journalism and, go out and find these people and interview. So the next instance of this came when Rob brought this story to the podcast.
Man had sex with a dolphin called Dolly for a year and claimed she seduced him.
Those sexy dolphins, those pesky sexy dolphins.
Well, he's a self-confessed zoophile who claims he had an affair with a dolphin called Dolly after she seduced him. So he was a student when he embarked on a relationship with a bottlenose dolphin in the 1970s. He's written a novel, Wet Goddess, which he tells the story of a young man who has a sexual relationship with a dolphin while he's working at a theme park. So he wrote a novel about it, but it's basically based on him. He admitted the book is autobiography and based on his own experience. I wrote this book for dolphins because we're mistreating these animals by keeping them in captivity. So we should just bang them instead, is basically what he's saying.
Now, of course, that story captured my interest and I reached out and I managed to find Malcolm Brenner, the man who wrote that book, Dolphin Lover, and we sat down and had a chat with him.
The dolphin read your mind.
She realized I was a zoophile. I was more or less into sex with dogs. And I hadn't had any, but I had tried. She was masturbating on me. And one time, she actually had a climax. UFOs do seem to have something to do with the sea. And who is in a better position to know what's going on in the sea than the dolphins? There's all kinds of questions we could answer if we could talk to dolphins. That's what was so fascinating, that I, who had made love with a dolphin should run into this woman, also that she was a witch.
We've spoke to quite a few people since we spoke to Malcolm in that interview you just listened to. The actual interview is about 40 minutes or so definitely if you haven't listened to it, go and find it. Just type in interview with Malcolm Brenner. It's called Beyond Wet Goddess. But we've spoke to quite a few people since then, and I still think that is the one that baffles me the most. If I ever go and listen to it back, I'm speechless a lot of the time. It is insane. But since speaking to Malcolm, we've spoken to the Come Dine With Me whisk man.
Why did you put the whisk in your mouth?
You know what? Loads of people ask me that, and I don't suppose I know the answer. It was just something I did at the time to make the girl who was on Come Down With Me, the producer. She, built a bit of a banter relationship with her over the course of the time. Because they spend quite a lot of time at your house and at the other houses and at all the filming locations. It was just something I did to make her laugh, really. And I knew at the time that I did it that. Because they all absolutely, wet themselves laughing. I thought, that's definitely going to be in the show. And then when it was on, it wasn't sort of something that everyone was talking about, but it was a couple of years later, the first time it got shared. And then a couple of years after that, and then it seems like it never dies. It's a strange thing.
The person we've interviewed that the most people seem to know is the £1 Fishman.
It just came in my mind and... I started, come on ladies, £1 fish, have a look, £1 fish, very, very good, £1 fish. So someone recorded my video and put it on YouTube, and that video viral over the night, and the millions and the likes and hits on YouTube. And at that time, the people called, you are the internet sensation right now.
Yeah, and how did that feel when you started seeing that video upload? How long did it take before you knew? Because of course you didn't upload the video, someone uploaded it for you. So how long did it take you before you found out that so many people were watching it?
First of all, I never thought one day I become a famous like a £1 fishman. The people said, you can. The people knows about the Iron Man, Batman, Spider-Man. And you are a fish man. It's a very good and unique fame. So I never thought it's a overnight. Hit overnight.
One of our more unique interviews was with Akihiko Kondo, a man who married a virtual anime character, had a hologram of the character in his house, married a hologram. Now has a big 3D printed life-size version of her. It's a weird one. And of course, because he was Japanese, we had to get a translator, and Rob is voicing Akihiko.
I am
Akihiko Kondo. I married Hatsune Miku and became viral all over the world. The first time I fell for Miku-san was in May of 2008. And after 10 years of being in love with her, I decided to marry her in November 2018.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the origin story? How did you and Miku meet?
I first met her around 2007. I don't remember the exact date, but it was May 2008 when I fell in love with her after hearing her song Miracle Pain. That's when I fell for her. The more I listened to her songs, the more I started loving her. I met her on Nico Nico Video. I watched her on Nico Nico Video and fell for her.
So, of course, you and Miku are married now, so this is you two together forever? There's no plans to maybe go on some dates sometime soon and maybe meet up with another woman?
Nah, I plan to make Miku-san my life partner. I don't intend to be with any other woman.
And we had Brian join us for episode 61. He's a guy who was on the very strange UK TV show Naked Attraction, where you go and be naked on TV. He came on an episode.
What made your episode, I guess, a bit more unique to most is a lot of people that tend to go on that show are people who are maybe very sexually liberated already, or very open sexually, and you were pretty open in the fact that you were a virgin when you went on the show. You hadn't had any sexual experience before,
and I still am, by the way.
Still am as well.
I still am. So there we go.
That was one of my questions for later on.
We've got to it very quickly.
I was going to be a bit more tactful about asking.
Yes, I am still a bit.
But when you went on the show and they revealed the 6 lower half of these female bodies, you got a little bit overwhelmed, right?
So for me, I had avoided the opportunities to see female genitalia. I had purposely avoided seeing female genitalia, and that was due to a personal experience that I had that made someone feel very uncomfortable. And I'd rather not go into what happened.
Sure.
But there was something that happened, a little incident that happened that made me feel very anxious and very mindful. So I was, I was of the opinion that women should be respected and that women's privacy should be respected. And I know how that feels when that isn't. And I know how the woman feels when their privacy isn't respected. So for me, any opportunity that I had to see female genitalia specifically, I had avoided in the flesh. So that's what really that was partly the reason why I needed just a bit of a break to take everything in. And of course, it was everything that came with it. I was on television. I was surrounded by really good people. The production were great, and I just needed to take everything in, along with the fact that it was my first time of seeing female genitalia in the flesh. So that's a combination of all of those was the reason why I needed it.
I can imagine that being like very full on, like for anyone, like normally your first experience of that would be intense, but it would normally be a very private, personal matter in a bedroom, whereas suddenly you got all these cameras on you. And even like you say, even though it might have been a nice environment for that, it's still like all of a sudden, oh, there's 6. And, and I've just got to now like react to this I can imagine that being mad.
In one of my interviews with a radio station, the point that they made was I had no point of reference. Yeah. And I think that is very, very true.
So that was a quick look back at some of our guests, and we really hope to speak to more interesting people in the future. As you heard at the beginning, George laid out the premise for the Curios Cast back in episode 1, and that was that we would all find a weird news story or news article, bring it and discuss. Fast forward to now, and we don't do that every episode. We don't record in the studio anymore. We record remotely from our homes, and that allows us to put out a new episode every week. Quite often, we'll have a whole episode dedicated to a specific topic that one of us has researched. It will still be a weird, crazy subculture of people or mystery or like a spooky story. So the premise is still roughly the same. But we do quite regularly go back to the old format of us three bringing a weird news story, and we call those episodes our Weird News episodes. Here's some of the best, the funniest, the most curious, weird news stories that we've had in the past year or so.
Toy boy, aged 31, dating a 91-year-old great-grandmother, has fetish for pensioners. So...
I think I've heard about this one. And it's probably not as uncommon as you think, but I've definitely heard a similar story.
Yeah, it rang a bell to me, and I'm sure there are multiple people, not just this lad, but this lad loves it especially. I mean, I guess that's an especially large age gap, isn't it? He basically goes on to talk about it. An extreme toy. I love they call him extreme toy boy. It's a great phrase. An extreme toy boy dates women more than 3 times his age. And his relationship with is in a relationship with a 91-year-old great grandmother.
How old was he? Sorry,
he is 31.
It's just weird, just like on first reactions of just looking at the picture of them two kissing. It's just like this visceral reaction of just like, don't do that.
There is a video. There's a video that I watched in it. You should watch it later because just for this one line in it, right? He says like, I should have wrote down exactly what he says, but it's something along the lines of, yeah, some people, that's it. People don't like to think of their grandparents having sex, but they do have sex, and some of them might be having sex with me. I thought that was like thug life video.
Yeah, that is good.
Glasses coming over him.
That sounds like a threat.
It does, doesn't it?
One thing I wanted to speak about was a man in China getting caught attempting to smuggle his pet tortoise onto a plane by disguising it as a KFC burger.
That's so good.
So he bought a KFC burger, took out the chicken and the filling and stuff, and then put his tortoise inside it, and then wrapped it back up inside the paper that you get a burger with. And then he tried to go through security, but he was only caught because the X-ray scanner picked up like his legs poking out of the side of the
But surely
bun.
it'd pick up like the skeleton of a tortoise, right?
It just
it's not like it's going to just pick up a bun.
Well, that's what it sounds like here. It just says staff began to get suspicious when the X-ray scanner picked up on protrusions coming from the burger that looked remarkably like turtle limbs.
Even if the limbs were inside, they still come out on an X-ray. That's ridiculous. 4 men get mouth ulcers after eating 30 kilograms of oranges at airport to avoid paying extra baggage fee.
Fuck off. That's just the sort of thing you do as a laugh, isn't it?
Yeah. It says
crazy.
4 Chinese men got mouth ulcers after eating 30 kilograms of oranges in 30 minutes. It's pretty a
30
kilogram.
minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, let me think about a kilogram of oranges. That's fucking... I want to know how many oranges that is.
Well, so it would have been, so obviously divided by 4. So whatever 30 divided by 4 is, that's not, you can't work that out in your head. That's
I suppose
impossible.
it depends how big
It's impossible. Well, I'm going to Google what the average orange is.
While you're doing that, you work out the maths, and I'll read.
And when they say orange, do you think they mean? Because when I say orange, I really mean like a satsuma or a clementine. And they're a
But then
lot
you're
smaller.
wrong, Rob. You're fucking wrong.
I am wrong. So do you think they've got journalistic integrity with this article?
Orange.
When they say
I reckon
orange,
they're
they
going
mean
for
a
orange.
fucking actual orange, yeah.
They've got to be going for like a big old juicy boy.
I'm quickly trying to skim and see if it tells me the breed of said orange, but
The breed.
I'm struggling to find the make and model of the orange.
Oh, fuck off, right? If I've done this right, it's about 57 oranges each.
That you could do.
That can't be true.
Well, it says the average orange is 131 grams.
Yeah.
And 7.5 kilograms each. 7,000.
A frisky couple had sex on bench outside Sainsbury's. Don't see the problem with it. The pair who romped on the bench outside the supermarket in Hull say it was dark and they were in the mood. I'll send you a.
I swear we had one like this the other day, like one that's so similar, where it was just they banged and just didn't give a crap.
The way this is written is brilliant. There's like it's just a classic. It seems like not a real article. I'll send you the article in just a second. But it says here, the couple, both street drinkers, that have that's like their they've been defined as street drinkers. They've explained it was dark and we were in the mood. Emma and her partner, who did not want to be named, however, his picture's on here, so I don't really. This is brilliant. Emma, who has been seen having sex on the bench before with her boyfriend, said she does not think it's a problem. This is a quote from her. Yeah, we've had sex on the bench before, and I've noshed him off as well. But what's the issue? It was dark and we were in the mood, and it didn't do anyone any harm. We're nice people, and all people need to do is just come up to us and say hello if they've got a problem. We don't bite. Yeah, we might ask people if they've got a cig or if they can give us a bit of spare change, but they can say no, and we don't get nasty or anything.
I love that, adding that in. Yeah, we might ask you for 50p or something, but...
She spoke about the fact that she had to leave her fiancé, so she had a real human fiancé. However, she had to leave him after he caught her having an affair with a spirit. So
as he walked in, as this guy genuinely walked in and said, "You're fucking a spirit," like is that what's happened? Is he like just in on as much in on it as she is?
So this is the story about how she got caught having this affair. So
Excellent.
one night she decided to dress in sexy lingerie and hang around in the spare room where she'd felt a ghost's presence the most. But she claims that just before falling asleep, a ghost turned up and they had sex. Amethyst went on to discuss how her relationship ended after he caught her in bed with the ghost. He came home and said that he saw the shape of a man through the window when he pulled up outside.
So this is the only evidence we have of the argument. Is this all the info we have? Because like
That's it.
Surely this is just another like. Unfortunately, what's happened is he's come home to see her cheating.
Yep.
And she said, obviously, that was a ghost.
Yep. I was about to say that. Case cracked. She was cheating. He saw it through the window. By the
That
time he
person
got
did
up
a
the
real
drive
good-
and key in the
yeah.
door, he'd legged it out the window. And she's gone, no, that was a ghost.
Obviously a ghost. And yeah.
And now she's just in too deep.
And now she's got to keep up the lie, yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, she's got the news crew round having interviews and that.
She was on this morning.
So those are some of the best weird news stories that we've had in the past year or so, or at least they're the best ones that I could remember and then find and then cut out and edit in time to get this episode out. But they're some of the best ones. And like I said earlier, it's not just weird news stories that we talk about anymore. We do dedicate some episodes to more in-depth topics, and we talk about weird historical events or groups of people or spooky mysteries. Here's some examples of those.
This is episode 78 of the Curios Cast. How big is your head?
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Curios Cast. This week we're discussing some unexplained and mysterious sounds.
Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the Curios Cast. This week we are talking about the Mole Man of Hackney and other notable subterranean excavations.
Welcome back to the Curios Cast. This episode, we're talking about people who count their chips in restaurants and put it on a Facebook page.
Welcome back to the Curios Cast. This is episode 75, and this week we're talking about how fucking mental and mad eels are.
So I think that's a pretty good summary of what the Curios Cast is. Some weird news stories and those examples that you just heard there. The Curios Cast began over 3 years ago now, and we put out a new episode every Monday for the past 14 months. I'm sure we've got plenty more to give, plenty more weird news stories to find. They kind of don't stop coming, really. We really appreciate everybody who listens, whether you listen every single week or whether you just listen from time to time, or even if this is the first time listening, if you want to stick around, listen to the rest, really appreciate it. I'm sure we've got plenty more weeks to come of George bringing us bullshit Bigfoot stories.
I've got a Bigfoot one, but it's not really that interesting.
Oh, well, you got late on this anyway.
Because they usually are.
Oklahoma Bigfoot bounty up to $2.1 million. It's the day Bigfoot stalked workers in a Cornwall forest.
Yeah.
Look, you laugh at my Bigfoot sightings, people describing how they've seen Bigfoot. You're trying to now describe a poo that you once saw in a toilet. Cornish version of Bigfoot.
You got a Christmas Bigfoot?
I've not got... That's the one thing I couldn't get. I mean, it'd be a Yeti, really, wouldn't it? But
yeah.
One of them is a Bigfoot story.
Oh.
Hey.
So it's not necessarily a news story, but I saw it. The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organisation, an archive of Bigfoot sightings. Bigfoot. I'd say Bigfoot is dropping. He's dropping in the rankings.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah,
a Bigfoot encounter. Supposed Bigfoot tracks. There's no Bigfoot. There's no knobs. This is a Class A Bigfoot sighting. Search for Bigfoot. No Bigfoot. You haven't even seen Bigfoot. Bigfoot sighting. The British Bigfoot Research Group. Bigfoot.
Okay.
I'm sure Rob has got plenty more interesting sounds to make.
And I recorded, I sampled bird sounds and like put them through what's called like a bit crusher. So it made it sound like 8-bit and like distorted. So it was like this sounds going through, and like we had to present it on like a big screen. We're like, yeah, I'll send you the link later. You'll love it. To me, it sounded like an elastic band suddenly popping under the strain. Like,
I might be able to do it again. Good. Oh, there we go.
Oh, the sound of the stag that I heard. So we were lying down like on the grass, looking up at the stars, just enjoying a bit of life. And when we started hearing this, like, and it was like so distant, and it was going off, and we were like trying to count it like it would happen, and we were like, what the fuck is that? And it was like, it was amazing. It was echoing over like the whole like valley. You could hear it. And then
you were high.
Oh yeah. Like, and then it would stop. And then it would like, and we'd wait a while. And we'd, like, this one we were sort of waiting for it. And then it'd start going like, and we were like trying to time it. We were like timing the intervals. And we were like, it's regular. Like.
So we've finally got a Curios Cast hotline.
Whoa.
Wow.
You need that sound effect, that YouTube sound effect.
So any listeners out there?
I'll tell you about the greatest sound I've ever heard. And we were just lying on the bed, kind of just relaxing. I think maybe we'd probably smoked a little herb to take the edge off, which always helps. And the window was open, and like this siren happened. Like a siren happened in the distance, and it sort of echoed. But it must be. I assume that's what it was. But we were all lying there, and I was just like lazily playing out this chord, just and this sound just came over that was just happened to be perfectly in tune with the chord, and it was like this, like just, and it like filled the entire room, and I was just like, I like felt it throughout my whole body, and I didn't want to say anything.
You're communicating with the music god.
I just like I wanted to be like, is anyone else here? It's like a bell that rings to make you know that the landing station is there, so boats know.
Yeah.
So it's only when it's really foggy and it's just like dung, dung, and again it echoes over the whole river. You'd hear like more than one sound though, wouldn't you? Right? It'd just be like,
yeah.
You'd hear like, and you'd also hear like, of like, you know, of like the squid tentacles, like, yeah. And it sort of hovered around for a bit, almost like it was watching them, and then just went, dosh. And it went. No sound. Gone, like whoosh. Instantly propelled off.
So not whoosh.
Not whoosh. Just,
not dosh.
Like,
just
like.
Did
nothing,
they see it move? Did it vanish, or did they like see it?
No, they saw it sort of.
That's good noise.
That's the noise I think you made.
And I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon with the stupid hypothetical questions.
What's the biggest animal you reckon you could take in a fight?
I reckon I could fight a penguin.
Okay, so I've got a list here, right?
Punch a penguin. Punch a penguin, he'd be off balance. Fuck him. He's down.
A penguin, that's like no question you could fuck up a penguin.
What about an emperor penguin? They're big.
And like,
but once you've knocked it over, would you pick up a penguin?
Fuck off.
Or, oh, come on. Come on.
The question is not whether you could win a fight unscathed. So it's just, say you both were in a fucking octagon together, you know.
Okay. Weapons or no weapons?
No weapons. It's just you and, you know, you're naked. Maybe not. Yeah. Maybe you got some shorts or pants on or whatever.
Can I not have a little?
And the animal.
Maybe I was just watching a podcast where they spoke about it or something the other day, and like some of the people's answers were just outrageous. It was like, you ain't beating that.
Now this one, I'm going to be controversial here. I think I could win against a crocodile.
Is it on land or is it in the water?
Why the fuck do you think that?
Because I've watched a lot of videos of people fighting crocodiles.
Oh right, well, there you go then.
And
there you go. Must be an expert.
Basically, well, but I've seen people do it, so I know it's possible, and I know how to do it. I've seen the technique.
Is it a sword?
Would you take £1 million, but every single time you see a dead animal in the road or on the side of the road, you throw up? Like you instantly will be sick. And he's like, not a lot, but like enough that it would like fill your mouth, or like, you know, you'd have to spit a bit out or whatever. And you know, initially I'm like, yeah, £1 million, but the amount of dead animals you do see on the road
is a lot.
It is a lot. You'd be being sick all the time, and like if I've got £1 million, you know, you might do a bit more travelling than you do now. Yeah. I'm on the road a lot more. I'm gonna be so sick. And he's like, no, you train yourself to like not look at it, but it's impossible. You're looking at the road.
It's impossible.
And
yeah.
Like you see, I drove past like as I was driving today, I only went on like a 40-minute drive, and I saw 2 dead foxes, and it wasn't even on like a big road.
You'd probably get used to being sick though, like Steve-O from Jackass is just sick all the time. He doesn't seem to give a fuck. That reminded me though.
Do you think there are more doors or wheels in the world? In the whole world, Are there more doors or wheels? This was like a big thing. It was all over like football Twitter because some like journalist went to the Crystal Palace training ground and asked the players, and some of them were obviously giving like really confident answers. Some of them are like really thinking about it, and sort of like everyone was divided, and everyone on Twitter, and then it kind of spread to like TikTok and everything. Everyone's been going on about it. What's your initial thoughts?
Initially, my instinct says wheels.
Okay.
Because there are lots of vehicles that have more than 4 wheels, but now, how specific are we being about wheels? Because there's lots of like machinery that uses wheels.
Yeah.
So what are we calling a wheel?
Because I started off on team doors, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought the same as you. I was like, man, there's loads of vehicles that have wheels, like surely wheels, but you look at like skyscrapers and stuff and think how many doors they must have, like big blocks of apartments that have like,
true.
Or you look at like a massive like slum or like favela or in like a really densely populated city. It's just like there's not as many cars there. People aren't driving.
And are we talking like cupboard doors?
Yeah, exactly.
And
cupboards.
Like doors on advent calendars.
I was going to say advent calendars, yeah.
Doors,
then you've got,
albums.
if you included advent calendars, you've got to include like wheels of cheese as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, okay.
It's a really good question, but I still think that is wheels.
So that is our look back on the Curios Cast throughout the years. There's a lot that we didn't have time to cover today, such as our YouTube channel, Curios News. That is where most of our interviews are uploaded, and that is where we go live on the scene to these crazy events in the UK, film it and upload it into shorter 10-minute videos. Higher production quality, definitely go check that out if you haven't already. As you know, if you've listened to a recent episode, we do have a phone now as well, so you can text in, leave us a WhatsApp, a voice message, just a normal text, and suggest a topic or give us a question to talk about. The phone number for that is
07470184383. 07470184383.
A few of you have sent in texts already, more than we thought would. Thank you. We will be recording an episode responding to all of them soon. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was fun for me to go back and look through the old clips, reminisce, have a laugh at some of our jokes and chop that together for you. I'm sure we'll do something similar soon. Well, probably not soon. Another year or so we'll leave it, I imagine. Maybe go back yourself and listen to some of the older episodes just for old time's sakes. Maybe not the very early ones because I'm not on those ones, so they're not as good. But go back to maybe anywhere from sort of like 10, 11 onwards, they're pretty good. And if you do enjoy the podcast, please try and spread the word. Podcasts are one of these things that only really spread through word of mouth. So leaving a review or just telling your friends about it, dropping it in your group chat, listen to these idiots. Like, you know, spread the word a little bit, helps us out a lot. And we really appreciate new listeners, new people texting in, asking us questions. It's a lot of fun for us. So thanks for listening. And that was episode 79 of the Curios Cast.